Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Brett's Flix. So, to celebrate the return of the Mandalorian, I thought it might be appropriate to go back to the first time I heard the term Mandalorian and its connection to the clones. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So, without further ado, let's watch this movie.
Annie? My goodness, you've grown.
Swabber, get on board!
I'm in agony.
Well, first thing I can say is at least finally we have some forward momentum in the Skywalker saga as a whole. Because finally we're actually getting to events and character decisions that will affect the latter stories.
Be mindful of your thoughts, Anakin. They betray you. You've made a commitment to the Jedi Order, a commitment not easily broken.
Phantom Menace didn't really do that. Phantom Menace was basically all set up 2.5 hours just so that Anakin could become a Padawan and Palpatine could become Senator.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
That's it. That's really all that film ended up doing. But now we actually finally have some momentum and we have some forward action and we're getting into the start of the Clone Wars. And that's exciting.
Yes, sir.
So as we start the film, we realize that it has been 10 years since we last saw our characters. And Obi-Wan and Anakin are buddy-buddy. We can kind of guess that from the way they act
You're sweating.
with one another, but really it's all just told through their stories. Like, I mean, it's just, oh, remember when I saved you from Gundocks? I remember that. That means that they are cool with each other, right, guys? Right? It's kind of a lame way to set up character by just having them relate stories from the past. We should be able to see that through their interactions with one another. We do, but it's still just kind of weird.
No, I don't like it when you do that.
Sorry, Master. I forgot you don't like flying.
I don't mind flying, but what you're doing is suicide.
So Anakin hasn't seen Padme in a very long time, and he's immediately super creepy about it.
Annie? My goodness, you've grown.
So have you. Grown more beautiful, I mean.
He's coming in strong, he's coming in close to her. She is very uncomfortable at times. It's kind of a wonder that she even still likes him at all. But never mind the uncomfortable romance, we'll get to that later, trust me. Now we have to worry about the most convoluted assassination plot ever put on screen.
I sense it too.
Okay. So let me get this straight. Let me see if I got this right. Palpatine wants to kill Padme. Well, in actuality, the death of Padme is inconsequential. What he really, really needs is for the Jedis, probably Obi-Wan, to get just, I guess, a hint of Jango. And he doesn't want Jango to get caught, but he wants them to know that Jango is around so that they can follow this thread of Jango Fett and then find the clone army. So that way, once the Separatists reveal their droid army, the Republic has this clone army in order to fight back with it. So Palpatine needs the Jedi and the Senate to find the clone army and accept it. So first, he decides to tell Dooku, well, I need you to kill Padme. So then Dooku hires Jango, who is the guy that is then going to lead them to the clones. Okay, well then Jango hires someone else, and that person uses a droid, and that droid dispatches worms. Just shoot her! Just shoot her through the window or something! So, anywho, we start off with this 6-layer assassination attempt. We get a really great Blade Runner-inspired chase through Coruscant. It's got some great colors, some great visuals. The sound effects are really awesome. I'm enjoying this film so far. And then we have this nice seedy bar sequence.
She went into the club, Master.
And I always, as a kid, I just always loved this Death Sticks bit here.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
I also find it hilarious that it's like, Jedi business, go about your drinks, don't worry about it. And, you know, it's just like, well, don't mind us just like maiming this person here. Just Jedi brutality, look away, look away. So it would appear that Obi-Wan is our main character in this film.
That's good news.
Obi-Wan has the most forward momentum. He is the one that is taking the most action within the plot. He is the one that is investigating this assassination attempt on Padme's life.
Track down this bounty hunter. You must, Obi-Wan.
Most importantly, find out who he's working for.
Thus discovering the clone army and therefore then being captured by Dooku and the Separatists. Meanwhile, your B story is Anakin and his bodyguard detailing of Padme on Naboo.
Anakin, escort the senator back to her home planet of Naboo. She'll be safer there.
So the film treats Obi-Wan as your A story and Anakin as your B story. But the problem is that it actually gives almost as much screen time to Anakin, so that kind of confuses people and makes you think like, well, who's actually the main character here? And then once Obi-Wan is captured, you do have Anakin pulling center focus just for a little bit in his rescue attempts.
Good job.
So Lucas kind of ebbs and flows between who gets the same amount of screen time, but in terms of the actual forward momentum and who's driving the story and the plot lines forward, it's Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is your main character. We get some really great classic snarky Obi-Wan moments in this movie too. It's really fun. Ewan McGregor is fantastic. My only issue is that a lot of the times Obi-Wan is simply relegated to making quips.
I don't mind flying, but what you're doing is suicide. That was good.
Good job.
And asking questions.
What about Senator Amidala? Can you tell me where it came from? I wonder why it didn't show up in the analysis archives.
I've been tracking a bounty hunter named Jango Fett. Do you know him?
And it's kind of a shame. It's a good thing Ewan McGregor is so damn charming because he makes all of it so fantastic to watch, and he is the main reason I think Obi-Wan is as successful of a character as he is.
There it is, R4. Right where it should be. Our missing planet Kamino.
So, as Obi-Wan hunts down Jango Fett, he tracks him down to Kamino, where he discovers that some other Jedi Master named SITH has created a clone army for the Republic.
Please tell your master, SITH, that his order will be met on time.
Here is one of my main problems with this movie. A lot of these plot threads that get brought up, SITH, for example,
SITH,
none of these are answered in this film. They're left open-ended.
I was recruited by a man called Tyrannus on one of the moons of Bogdan.
And actually, neither of those questions get answered in the next film either.
Howard!
By the time they get to Revenge of the Sith, Anakin and Obi-Wan already know the identity of Tyrannus. And it's just this jump that I understand there are supposed to be several years in between the two films, but if you pose a question, an important question too, several characters ask, who created the clone army for the Republic?
Did the Council ever authorize the creation of a clone army?
No. Whoever placed that order did not have the authorization of the Jedi Council.
You have to answer this question in one of the movies, and it never was. It's something where Lucas created such a massive world with all these interconnecting parts. He wants to hint and touch on each of them, but not all of them are important to the immediate story being told at hand. So then we have these leftover plot threads that are just kind of like left hanging, and they didn't get filled in until 14 years later in the Clone Wars TV show.
Master Sifo Dyas. Forgive me, I'm afraid I am not familiar with that name.
Died some time ago, he did, on Felucia. Investigating his death we are.
The sequel trilogy also ends up falling prey to some of these problems, with plot threads and plot holes left open to be answered at a later time. And that's not always the best way to go about things. I know that at this point, we can all look back at the prequels as one massive story because we have the Clone Wars, and that fills in all the gaps and the story beats that Lucas was unable to fill in himself in the films. But back when these came out, we didn't have that. We didn't know there was going to be a TV show that answered all our questions.
You have no business left with the Pikes Tyrannus.
Tyrannus? You are the man called Tyrannus?
He just kind of had all these plot threads left hanging, and it was really annoying. It still kind of is, but we do have the TV show now, so we can go back and we can watch it as a complete story. It's just a shame that it was never created that way in the first place. Then we go to one of my favorite action sequences in the whole saga, and it's the chase through the asteroid field.
Dad, I think we've been tracked.
He must have put a homing device on our hull. Hang on, son, we'll move into the asteroid field.
Seriously, this scene is so exciting, the visuals are fantastic, and the Foley alone is amazing.
Stand by.
I love the way they put the sound together in this sequence. It adds a whole new layer to it. It's really great. So while Obi-Wan is navigating the maze that is the conspiracy of the creation of the clones, Anakin is having a play date with Padme. Seriously, I cannot believe that the same man that wrote one of the greatest romances in cinematic history
Because I'm a scoundrel.
gave us this bland, boring storyline. This is the lamest romance ever.
This is outrageous. It's unfair.
Why? Because it has absolutely no tension in it. So, we're going to do another section of Film School in a Jar.
Goes down smooth.
Alright, I want to thank my professor Larry Brunner for helping me learn some of these different things that I'm going to talk about today. So, thanks Larry, you're awesome. Okay, so, romance, like most elements in a film, needs tension in order to make it worth it. We as the audience do not cheer for a relationship at the end of a film unless we feel that it has actually been worth it for these characters to get together, okay? Rom-coms live and die by whether or not their audience cares about their two characters getting together in the end.
Let me give you some advice, Kamal. Love isn't easy. That's why they call it love.
So, how do you create tension? Well, there's got to be at least something keeping these two from getting together, right? In Meet the Parents, it's the parents, namely Robert De Niro. But you have this element where if he does not impress the parents, that will cause pressure on the relationship. Boom, there's your tension right there. In The Graduate, the tension comes from whether or not people are going to find out about what happened between Mrs. Robinson and Ben Braddock.
Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
If the father finds out, that's going to cause a problem. If Elaine finds out, Mrs. Robertson's daughter and also Ben's girlfriend, that's going to cause a problem too. Going back all the way to Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet were kept apart by their two warring families. They were fated lovers, but their families hated each other. That's a problem.
Yup.
You have these elements that are making your audience question whether your character will end up with the girl in the end or not. Okay? So, if there is nothing keeping your characters apart, then how is this interesting? So, if we want to use the very films of this franchise as our prime example,
I'm not trembling.
Let's look at Han and Leia. What is keeping Han and Leia apart in this scene?
Hey, your worship, I'm only trying to help.
Would you please stop calling me that?
Well, it's mainly Leia. It's her decision to not give in to Han's charms.
Stop that.
Stop what?
It's also, namely, what is happening around them. It's the situation they are in, their immediate circumstances. They are stuck inside what they think is an asteroid cave.
The cave is collapsing.
This is no cave.
There are Minocs all over the ship. The ship is damaged. Leia is much more focused on fixing the ship, not making out with this nerf herder over here, okay? So Han is trying his damnedest to get in there, and he is charming enough that even eventually Leia cannot fully reject him. She likes him. She needs to push that aside because shit is going down right now and we don't have time for this. There's your tension right there. So, where is your tension with Anakin and Padme? It's nowhere. It's absolutely nowhere. They're alone in a paradise on a vacation planet. He's supposed to be bodyguarding her, but it's essentially just babysitting. And here they are frolicking in a forest. Here they are having dinner with one another. There's no immediate threat. There is nothing coming in from the outside to hurt this relationship. So it has to come from the inside. It has to be one of these characters rejecting the other one. But they don't really do that either. They try it. Padme makes the excuse that he's going to become a Jedi and she's a senator.
You're starting to become a Jedi. I'm a senator.
Well, Anakin throws away his Jedi vows the second she brings that up. He is just waiting to be like, I don't care. We're taught to love each other. There's my loophole.
Are you allowed to love? Thought that was forbidden for a Jedi.
Attachment is forbidden. Possession is forbidden. Compassion, which I would define as unconditional love, is central to a Jedi's life. And so you might say that we are encouraged to love.
Boom. He has forgotten about that. He is ready to commit to her regardless. So then it comes down to Padme, and her excuse is, well, it's my job and this and that. But we've never seen evidence that senators can't have a relationship. Really, it's her just saying, I don't want to. And that's really lame, and it's not dramatic. As it turns out, later in episode 3, Padme is actually really good at juggling her job as a senator and her relationship with Anakin. And actually hiding a pregnancy. So, it's not like she can't do the job and have a relationship. She's very capable. My point is that there is absolutely no tension in these scenes. These scenes are devoted specifically to the romance subplot. Lucas should have done what he did in the original trilogy and have the romantic subplot take place within scenes of action, within moments where other things are happening.
Oh, you're perfectly welcome, sir.
Where the character needs to make a decision whether they want to focus on the romantic side of things or whether they want to focus on the immediate actions of what is happening in that moment. This is what causes tension. And there is no tension in any of these scenes, just a bunch of terrible dialogue that does not help the situation in any way, shape, or form. It's a shame these scenes are so long, too, because the rest of the storyline is really great. I genuinely enjoy watching Obi-Wan go through and figure out this conspiracy and get the answers about the clones and Jango. But then every single time something gets cool, we jump back and we spend another 5 minutes with this horrible romance. It doesn't get good until Anakin goes to Tatooine. Then he actually has forward momentum. He's driving towards something. He wants to save his mom. He is taking action towards that goal. Now we're actually moving forward.
They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
I really like the addition of having Qui-Gon's voiceover of him saying no when Anakin goes dark and kills the Sand People.
Anakin! Anakin!
So I guess George Lucas learned, instead of giving us a jerky good, bad, good, bad, good, bad watching experience, he gives us long stretches of good followed by long stretches of bad. He goes from one really great moment to just completely ruining it with another really bad moment. This film has given us a ton of meme-worthy moments, mainly having to do with the dialogue. And I mean, look, I love how much fun we've had with this dialogue. The sand line is hilarious.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
But we all know they're not actually good bits of dialogue. These are really, really terrible lines here. And it's a shame because, honestly, Hayden Christensen, he's not the best actor in the world, but he's not this terrible. The dialogue is not helping him in any way, shape, or form, and neither is Lucas's directing. You can see that plainly with Natalie Portman. She is a fantastic actor, and we've seen her pull out Oscar-worthy performances.
Please open the door. Please.
Seducers! Attack it! Attack it! Come on!
Where'd you get these? It's nothing.
But here, she genuinely gives a horrible performance.
I truly, deeply love you.
Ugh, that line is so bad.
The thought of not being with you, I can't breathe.
This film actually might have the worst dialogue in the whole franchise. This is also sadly when Lucas started making the push even more towards green screen and CGI. We have even less sets here than we did in the last film, and by the time you get to Revenge of the Sith, there is absolutely no set at all, hardly. I mean, look at this. Everyone's just walking on green screen. He didn't even bother giving them a floor. Granted, for the majority of it, the CG actually does hold up fairly well, but there's still some really bad moments and some really gross green screen. But the film mostly makes up for it in its third act because we have a rousing action sequence set in this fantastic Coliseum. Seriously, this sequence was so exciting as a child, and it's still exciting as an adult. The monsters are cool, the action is good, and it shows just how resourceful your characters can actually be when pushed up against the wall.
Just relax, concentrate. What about Padme? She seems to be on top of things.
We also have frickin' Christopher Lee. This man is a legend. He doesn't show up until an hour and 15 minutes into the film, and then he doesn't interact with any of our main characters until an hour and a half.
Traitor.
Oh no, my friend. This is a mistake, a terrible mistake. They've gone too far. This is madness.
This guy has only about maybe a combined total of 15 minutes worth of screen time in this film, and he still is the highlight of it. That is when you know you have such a high caliber actor.
It's a great pity that our paths have never crossed before, Obi-Wan.
See those columns of steam straight ahead? They're exhaust vents of some type.
That'll do.
I find it hilarious how Anakin basically breaks into the Geonosians' home, and then when they're understandably upset, he's the one that attacks first and then kills them. Just some really solid Jedi leadership there, guy. So after Anakin's botched rescue attempt,
don't move, Jedi,
we get one of the best moments in all of snarky Obi-Wan history.
Then we decided to come and rescue you.
Good job.
We also do sadly get some ill attempts at humor here.
Oh, stop that! You're going to strain something. My neck!
Not all these jokes land.
This is such a drag.
She seems to be on top of things.
I'm quite beside myself.
You get a pun, and you get a pun, and you get a pun. Everybody gets puns. We're throwing puns out like they're nothing. Lucas learned from the last film not to split your climax into 4 parts. This time, he just splits it into 2. And once we have the climactic action sequence in the Colosseum, the Jedis interrupt.
This party's over.
And we have an amazing scene where they fight the droid army, Mace Windu cuts off Jango Fett's head, and then the clones swoop in to save the day. From here on, we are treated to an amazing sequence of the clone troopers doing what they do best, and that is killing clankers.
It's Dooku! Shoot him down!
We're out of rockets, sir.
What do you mean you're out of rockets? You have lasers on that thing. Come on!
We'll take them together. You're going slowly on the left.
Taking him now! No, Anakin, no! No!
Simultaneously, we have the fight with Dooku. This is still a standout action sequence in the franchise, one of the best lightsaber fights. The parallel between Dooku and Anakin's fighting here with Luke and Vader's fight later is really great, and it's a wonderful visual mirror. But obviously, the best part of that is not the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin and Dooku, but when Master Yoda shows up and kicks ass. I don't know if he has like really strong legs or if he's using the Force to hop around or if it's a combination of the two. It's awesome.
The way he's moving now in terms of animation, his feet, I would think of him more like a frog. If anything, he would spring around to where he's going.
Okay.
He has big thighs.
Okay, we'll try some of that.
Huge thighs.
End it all on some nice foreboding shots of Sidious loading the clones into the Star Destroyers and Anakin getting married, and you have a pretty solid ending. Overall, I enjoyed this film a little more than Phantom Menace. In terms of quality, it's probably about the same. Instead of jerking jarrily from good to bad, it gives you long stretches of good followed by long stretches of bad. But personally, I really enjoy the whole plot line to figure out what's going on with Jango and the clone army, and Act 3 is a rousing success with a fantastic action sequence, a wonderfully bombastic entry for the clones.
Look!
And a really, really intense lightsaber fight. It does have some of the worst dialogue in the franchise, though.
I truly, deeply love you.
And some of these romantic scenes are so boring, I usually end up skipping through them. So overall, I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. I do like it a little bit more than Phantom Menace. Word. But it's not quite as good as it really should be. Like and subscribe to Holy Goof for more Brett's Flix, Anime for Amateurs, and Zach's record reviews. Tune in next time where I will be reviewing Notzilla.